cutting.
Use the scissors.
I can't use the scissors. It's a chicken, not a quail. I can't stop. Alan, help. Alan.
Wash your fingers on the other side.
Alan. Hey guys, and welcome back to Mini Urban Farm, a channel about gardening and homesteading in the suburbs. As you can see behind me, I am right in front of our meat chicken tractor, and it is currently empty. So, did we butcher out our meat chickens? Well, yes and no. Originally, we started out with 30 Plymouth Barred Rock chicks. We ordered them from a hatchery, and 8 died right after receiving them, mostly because they were dehydrated and the lack of food from being shipped across the country. We also had about 4 or 5 other chickens die from being attacked between one another. The roos attacking the hens, the roos attacking each other, and then 1 or 2 just for predators. So total, we ended up with about 16 chickens to either butcher out or save. Now, we ended up butchering out only 4 of our chickens, and I'll tell you why. We decided early on in the process that we were going to keep these meat chickens and we're going to have some sort of a breeding stock out of them. So these ones that we originally had, you can see how curious they are up there, the ones that we originally had we got for meat, but then we were planning on keeping about 6 or 7 of them to actually breed them out and hatch out more chicks of the same breed, Plymouth Barred Rock. Now, at the end of the day, we only butchered out 4 of the roosters because we actually decided to keep all of the rest of them, which ended up being about 12 chickens, 2 roosters and 10 hens, so that we can use those as our breeding stock. We actually ended up thinning out our flock and got rid of a whole bunch of other chickens that we had in there, from production breds to speckled Sussex, and we did that so that the only brown eggs that our chickens are laying are for Plymouth Barred Rock. We want to be able to hatch out all of our brown eggs and know that that is the same breed of chicken. We also have a few Americanas and Easter eggers in the mix, as well as some white egg layers currently being brought up so that we can add them to our flock. But at the end of the day, we ended up butchering out our 4 smallest roosters, and we kept the 2 largest ones as well as all the hens. The reason we did that was so that the next generation of chicks hopefully will be on the larger side and we'll get more meat for our investment. So at the end of the day, was it worth it to buy meat chickens as a heritage breed of meat chickens and grow them and butcher out our own chickens? Well, I will tell you for a fact that it was definitely not worth it to spend almost an entire day setting up the equipment to only butcher 4 chickens and actually butchering out those chickens. However, it was worth it in the sense that now we have a better idea of what we are doing, and we also have our breeding stock. So all of these that you can see behind me that are barred black and white, we have 3 Americanas, 2 of which are laying eggs. One is our cross-beak chicken, so she does not actually lay eggs. But the other 2 that are in there are Americanas. There are some version of like black and white also, but these guys that you see behind me here, those are our Plymouth Barred Rock. So we will be, come next year, early spring, we will be hatching out more Plymouth Barred Rock chicks. We have 2 roosters, 10 hens, and we will go ahead and add a few other types of chickens to our mix as well, ones that lay different color eggs. So it was worth it in the long run. The entire process of moving the chicken tractor, getting all of the chickens, situated, making sure none of them died, protecting from predators, all of that stuff, it was definitely worth it to me because that is something that we are adding to our homestead, something we did not have before, which is a meat source, right? Not only do we have eggs now, but we also have a source of meat in case the grocery store does not have meat one day. Now, we did actually learn a few things from this entire process. The main one being that that chicken tractor was not a great investment, right? We actually did not spend tons of money on that chicken tractor, thankfully. We made the tractor out of mostly scrap materials, and then we bought the hardware cloth. That chicken tractor is currently housing our quail as they grow up, and that will be an additional source of meat on our homestead. However, moving that chicken tractor, which was built out of 2x4s and scrap lumber, was the biggest pain that I think you should not do on your homestead. So if you do want to get a chicken tractor, make sure it has wheels on it or build it out of PVC or something along those lines. We have since constructed a different chicken tractor out of PVC, which is significantly lighter, and we don't have to spend so much time struggling to move it. So that was mistake number 1. That was definitely a lesson learned on our part. The second one is that chickens are vicious, all right? They will definitely kill each other, and not necessarily killing for the sport of killing, but our roosters were attacking our hens constantly to the point where our hens had like big welches and just bloody spots on their back and on their neck that were getting infected and all of that. So they are definitely not pleasant creatures. Now, when I did finally remove the hens from the roosters, I will say most of the roosters got along together just fine, and we didn't have any problems with that. So that was lesson learned number 2. And then the third lesson learned was that for a time we actually had our hens, right, because we removed them from the chicken tractor so they weren't being beaten up on by the roosters. We had our hens in our main chicken coop back there with the rest of our flock that we since have gotten rid of. However, that meant that there was a lot of overcrowding in that coop. Now, we do let them, as you can see, free range when we're here on the property. Since we don't live here, we live a couple minutes away from here, and we come over here several times a week to check on them, to feed them, and do all the chicken chores and all of that. But when they are in the coop, all crowded together, there were approximately, I think, 22 chickens in that space, and I don't think that that is a big enough space for 22 chickens, which means that we were not getting nearly as many eggs from any of our chickens, and we're also getting eggs that were very, very small in size. Once we got rid of the other original flock that we had, and we only had these chickens in there, we're getting significantly larger eggs, and we're getting so many more eggs than we were even getting before. So at the end of the day, I'm very proud to say that we did it. We successfully grew, raised, whatever you want to call it, and butchered out our first set of meat chickens. We'll definitely be continuing on in this journey. It is definitely a process. I hope to eventually show the process that we used and things not to do, and tips for if you are an urban homesteader, if you are from the city, from the suburbs, like me, like Alan, things that you should know about butchering chickens. However, we have successfully butchered our first set of meat chickens, and we are going to continue on raising meat chickens. Now, this is not something that we decided on lightly after the whole butchering process, after we had separated all the parts and just cleaned up everything, and we were able to take a few steps back. We did sit down and we decided, pros and cons, because it was a lot of work. Definitely not something we're accustomed to doing, and there was a little bit of a learning curve on my end, definitely, since I was the one actually butchering out the chickens and Alan did not actually butcher them. We did sit down and have an entire conversation on whether or not this was something that was good for us and our homestead, and at the end of the day, we did decide that that was something that we are going to continue because it is a sustainable source of meat, and it is easy enough to do on a small scale, and it is definitely even worth it from a financial point of view. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more of our chicken videos, I will leave some here on the screen for you guys. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!